practitioners. It is a knowledge sharing app that is available on Android, on iOS, and the web.
Medixis was introduced to us sometime last year in order to streamline the handover system across the department in the hospital that I work in. So that is the first time that Jane has actually come to my department to introduce it to us.
Gaki, wawezaje kunitwangia simu saa hii Gaki? Saa zile tu nimewekelea matoke yangu kwa meza. Niko tayari kukula, wewe ukikula kwako mimi ukusumbua. Gaki, hii simu sisiki yake ya nani? Mimi ukusumbua ukikula kwako. Basi wewe ngoja nimalize matoke yangu tena utanitwangia.
Kupata matoke, bonyeza *811 *965#. Bonyeza *811 *965#.
Good evening. Thank you very much for joining us for this edition of Channel 1 News Hour. For the third day running, coronavirus cases have not exceeded 300, but the ministry is warning that it is not time to be complacent. This is because the number of tests being conducted are not that many. Of course, we have those details for you. My name is Edward Kabasa. Simon Karotha is handling the sign language interpretation for us tonight. You can interact with us throughout this live broadcast on Twitter and Facebook, KBC Channel 1 on Twitter, KBC Channel 1 on Facebook as well. My Twitter handle is at Ed Kabasa. But first, let us have the highlights.
Today we report 271 people who have tested positive after sampling 4,019 cases in the last 24 hours.
Not out of the woods yet. Government warns Kenyans against celebrations following the recent low positive cases recorded in the country.
With KEMSA, because it has a board, it has a management, for them to tell us how they have used that money, what they have in the pipeline. KEMSA also generates its own income. So we want to know also whether they have used any other source of money and for what purposes.
Tracing the COVID-19 billions, National Assembly to summon KEMSA board over use of funds. And free at last, Kakamega Senator Cleophas Malala released without any charges. Once again, welcome to this live broadcast. The Ministry of Health is warning Kenyans not to celebrate too fast that the COVID-19 curve is flattening following the recent low positive cases recorded in the country. Health Chief Administrative Secretary Dr. Rashid Aman says it is too early to declare that the curve is going down due to the low number of tests being conducted. According to health officials, the strongest indicators that the country is winning the war will be determined by numbers of patients hospitalized with COVID-19 infections and the death toll, even as Kenya recorded 271 positive cases in the last 24 hours.
Kenyans have been cautioned against complacency in the ongoing war against COVID-19. The Ministry of Health, in releasing Tuesday statistics, said the recent fall in the number of COVID-19 cases does not mean the country is out of the woods.
It is too early for us to be able to make any determination whether this is a trend, at least for the curve coming down.
But we must be very cautious before we start saying that our curve is flattening. We do not think so yet, and we have to take this with a pinch of salt, and let us not believe our curve is flattening. We have realized, of course, the number of tests are also not as many as we were testing 3 weeks ago. But of course, there are good indicators in terms of reductions in case fatality. Like in Mombasa, I think the case fatality has gone down.
The government attributes the drop in coronavirus cases to a drop in testing, which it says has been occasioned by scarcity of testing kits.
The strongest indicator really is people who get hospitalized because of COVID-19 and people who actually die from COVID-19. Those indicators are very, very important for us, and we carefully follow those indicators to determine where we are as far as this COVID response is concerned.
But by and large, our positivity rate has remained almost the same. So if you take 1,000 samples and 550 remain positive, that rate is to tell you that the positivity rate is still at where it was at 5%. So let us not rejoice at the reducing numbers that are announced every day and say our curves are flattening. It is not yet, and we have to assess it further using other indicators.
For the third day running, Kenya recorded less than 300 COVID-19 cases, with the Tuesday tally standing at 271 positive cases against a sample size of 4,019. The Ministry of Health says it will conduct targeted testing, focusing on hotspots as well as high-risk groups such as the elderly. Kenya's total coronavirus cases climbed to 30,636, with the Ministry of Health reporting another 208 people recovered from the disease in the last 24 hours. 166 of the recoveries were from the home-based care. 17,368 people have so far recovered from the disease. 5 more people, however, succumbed to the disease in the last 24 hours, bringing the number of fatalities to 487. Kamche Menza for Channel 1 News.
And the Health Committee in the National Assembly has summoned the Kenya Medical Supplies Agency Board following allegations of procurement irregularities in a 2.5 billion shilling tender for personal protective equipment. The committee's chairperson, Sabina Chege, says the summon will also address allegations that some of the PPEs procured were substandard.
Kenya Medical Supplies Agency is at the center of the storm following allegations of uncounted for billions of COVID-19 monies. According to Ministry of Health, the agency received 2.5 billion shillings as part of the 23 billion shillings the ministry received from Treasury and World Bank to fight COVID-19. The amount was to procure personal protective equipment. National Assembly Committee on Health has subsequently summoned the agency board to shed light on how the procurement process for the PPEs was carried out and whether the companies that were awarded tenders merited.
So we'll be meeting with KEMSA because it has a board, it has a management, for them to tell us how they have used that money, what they have in the pipeline. KEMSA also generates its own income. So we want to know also whether they have used any other source of money and for what purposes. The way the contracts were done, the way the procurements were done, the companies that were given, so that we can unearth if there is any mischievous thing that have been happening. We'll be doing a report in Parliament.
If irregularities are found, then the tenders will be annulled. She noted that the summon will also address allegations that some of the PPEs procured were substandard.
And if there is any PPE that is not of quality, and even if it's imported or locally done, the health workers should not shy away because their life comes first. They should report so that the facility, if it's from KEMSA, they track down from KEMSA, and then they track down. If it's a company that supplied substandard PPEs, it should be taken back to them because you can't be paid for doing substandard work.
The committee has asked the Ministry of Health to outline how much each county government has received to make it easy to follow up on the use of the funds.
We have asked the ministry to actually just give us an outline. If it's county, for example, Murang'a County, how much money so far have they received for COVID? so that we cannot be able to investigate and see if the money went to the county. Did the county use that money in the proper way?
Meanwhile, the county government of Isiolo has received a high rating of 85% in the latest COVID-19 preparedness assessment conducted by officers from the Ministry of Health, the Kenya Medical Training College KMTC, and the Kenya Pharmacy and Poisons Board.
All the risk management plan, which will be able to work with the county government, with our experts here, so that we can be able to develop a plan for the overall county and specific hospitals, which we'll be able to undertake. And so
703 community health volunteers who are visiting every household in this county. Every household in this county today has a designated community health volunteer who takes care of that homestead to ensure that immunization in that homestead is 100%. Maternal care in terms of visiting antenatal clinics is minimum 4 times during the pregnancy.
The assessment comes barely 2 months after human rights defenders accused the county administration of irregular acquisition of ICU beds from a private facility, sparking public uproar that led to investigations by the Senate Ad Hoc Committee on COVID-19.
Deputy President William Ruto has hailed the establishment of the 12-member Senate Committee to build a win-win consensus in the ongoing debate over the controversial division of revenue formula. Ruto says the move is a great wisdom and leadership, but took issue with what he termed as an attempt to blackmail the Senate. The Senate on Monday, for the 9th time, failed to reach consensus on the contentious formula. The Deputy President on Tuesday evening took to social media to weigh in on the direction of the debate on the contentious revenue-sharing formula. Ruto praised the establishment of the 12-member Senate Committee to build a win-win consensus over the formula, terming the decision as great wisdom and leadership. The DP, however, castigated Monday's arrest of 3 senators, saying it was an abuse of police and criminal justice intended to bully citizens, intimidate leaders, and blackmail the Senate. Ruto's sentiments were echoed by ODM leader Raila Odinga, who said that it was unnecessary to make revenue sharing a contest of might between security organs and legislators. In a tweet, Raila said, having pushed ourselves into deep divisions only to emerge with no formula, it's time to tone down the ethnic and regional rhetoric and diffuse the tensions that bubbled to the surface over the matter. The 7th Garissa County Governor Ali Quran and his Marsabit counterpart Mahmoud Ali implored on the Senate to rise above partisan interest and ensure counties are protected against the enemies of devolution.
We need to really voice our concerns so that the people vested with this responsibility will do what is fair to the nation.
We are not in conflict with anybody. Therefore, let us not divide this country on wrong information, on wrong formulas. Let us compensate those who have lost in the past and not punish them for things which are not their own making.
Development lazima inapelekewa watu. Na kila watu lazima washuke, wengine wapande, wengine washuke, ili sisi zote tuweze kwenda pamoja.
The contentious formula has divided the Senate, with a section of lawmakers alleging of a plot to disenfranchise marginalized counties. Kakamega Senator Cleophas Malala has been released from police custody unconditionally after the Director of Public Prosecutions dropped all charges against him. Malala, who was seized on Monday, has vowed not to be coerced or intimidated, claiming he was arrested over the divisive county revenue-sharing formula. This even as his Samburu counterpart Steve Lelegwe was questioned for the second day at the Maralal police station over cattle rustling in Samburu County. ODM leader Raila Odinga has in the meantime faulted the government over the arrest of the 3 legislators, terming the move as a cake.
Kakamega Senator Cleophas Malala on Tuesday left Mumias police station a free man after spending the night following his arrest by DCI detectives for allegedly flouting COVID-19 rules in Mumias. The senator who was arrested in Nairobi on Monday was driven back to Mumias by officials from the DCI office, allegedly to record a statement about his misconduct. He, however, spent the entire night at the police station without recording any statement and later released on Tuesday unconditionally without any charges preferred against him.
Director of Public Prosecution has directed that there is no reason as to why the senator should continue being held, and I believe as a lawyer I can state affirmatively the decision by the Director of Public Prosecution is informed by the fact that there can be no valid charge in the manner in which it was intended by the police.
Addressing the press after his release, Malala alleged that he was arrested over the divisive revenue sharing allocation formula, vowing not to be coerced or intimidated to support a formula that will disadvantage other regions.
We need to have a win-win formula in this conversation. We shall not accept, and I will not be part of a leadership that makes a decision to take away money from less fortunate counties like Turkana, like Marsabit, like Tana River, and take them to Mount Kenya. I will not accept that.
His lawyer and Law Society of Kenya President Nelson Harvey termed Malala's arrest and those of his two Senate colleagues malicious and politically instigated.
Of course, there is malice. And if there was no malice, nothing would have been easier than to arraign Senator Malala in a court of law today. Because I came here to go and take plea. And the fact that there is no plea to be taken here means the charge was not there in the first place. It can only have been malicious.
The development coming as his Samburu counterpart Steve Lelengwe for the second day presented himself at the Maralal police station for questioning by DCI detectives over cattle rustling in Samburu County.
Nimerekodi statement yangu na nimesema haya yote ambayo wanasema mimi sijui. Hawajasema watanipeleka mahakamani na nimeashiliwa, nimeambiwa nimemaliza kuandika statement. Wakinihitaji wataniita tena.
Senator Lelegwe vowed to stay firm on his decision to ensure that the county will not lose money through the proposed revenue sharing formula during his tenure.
Formula hiyo ikipitishwa, nafikiri sisi kama Wasamburu tutaumia zaidi kwa sababu bado tuligandamizwa na ile marginalization ambayo ilikuwa tangu hapo mbeleni. Na sisi kama Wasamburu leo tumejua nani ambaye amesimama na sisi na nani ambaye anataka kuhakikisha kwamba Wasamburu watarudi nyuma.
The Bomet counterpart Christopher Lagat is out on a free bond. He was released Monday after denying incitement charges. ODM Raila Odinga through his Twitter handle said the events surrounding the arrest of the senators stood as stark reminder that the country's struggle for a democratic state was far from over. Ben Chumba reporting for Channel 1 News.
Thank you, Ben Chumba, for that report. Channel 1 News Hour takes a very short break. Don't go anywhere. We still have plenty more lined up for you.
Me. What is going on? Swimming inside my drum.
Let me play me.
I cling to you.
And you alone.
Selena. You know we too fly for this.
Trust me. You seem like a good kid.
You know we too fly for this.
We're gonna blow everybody away.
Oh, good.
Every night is a ladies' night.
Do you know how many things I have to do?
We're just getting started. You know this is how I act.
I'm excited.
Wow. Get and stay connected to GoTV for all the tips you need to live your best life from our GoTV queens. GoTV. Live it, love it.
On the next episode of Corner.
We get our hands on that useless man.
Please, don't interfere. I can handle things with Wanjala.
Kama ungeweza tungekuwa hapa.
I am out, Julia. As long as Abbas is part of the FNW, I won't be.
Tafuta buda yako Wanjala.
and don't stop until you do.
Wendi pahali, kwani hiyo chai itajipika. Mimi nataka mayai 4.
Your father, no matter what he did with this gene, he did it for the good of this gene. Not one of your pets.
I'm paying you well.
Next on.
Either help me to separate Fabiola from the mechanic, or I'll tell them you told me that they were looking for a place.
You're really crazy. I have no idea what you're talking about.
I heard it when Luisa called you by your name.
Julio told me that he was drowning in debt, and that I could possibly lose my business. I don't know if he said it to scare me so I would let him keep pursuing Juana, or if my business is really at risk.
You don't need to make up stuff to keep every girl away from me. Just say that you love me as much as I love you.
El paraíso conocimos.
In Love with Ramon.
Welcome back. Former Garsen Member of Parliament Danson Mungatana and his business associate Collins Paul Waweru have been released on a 200,000 shilling cash bail each after denying charges of forgery and obtaining money by false pretense. Mungatana and Waweru were arrested over the weekend for allegedly trying to defraud a business lady of 1 million shillings, purporting to help her win a 70 million shilling contract.
Former Garsen Member of Parliament Danson Mungatana and Collins Waweru alias White appeared before Abdulkadir Lorot at the Kibera Law Courts facing 2 charges of fraud after they were accused of obtaining 930,000 shillings from their victim, whom they had promised a 70 million shillings tender. According to investigators, Mungatana purported to be working for a security agency and had promised her tenders before she realized the deal was fake. Prosecution had opposed an application to have the matter settled outside of court, and a ruling will be made on Wednesday. Meanwhile, a Machakos court is Wednesday expected to rule out whether or not 9 suspects accused of murdering a 55-year-old woman in Yambuko village in Machakos and malicious damage to property will be held in police custody pending further investigation. Machakos High Court Deputy Registrar Kipchumba Kenei promised to give directions on the application by prosecution to continue holding the suspects, who include Anthony Mutiso, Paul Muvengei, Benson Mwanzia, Harrison Mwanzia, Shadrach Muvengei, No Muvengei, Benjamin Kituku, Elizabeth Mueni, and Esther Kavindo. The suspects are accused of killing the 55-year-old woman early this month before setting her house on fire in a suspected family property tussle.
The government on Tuesday received a boost in the fight against coronavirus following a donation of personal protective equipment from the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD. The donation will be mainly channeled to the Dadaab refugee camp to be used by frontline workers helping fight the battle.
Garissa County has over 194 cases of coronavirus, placing it at position 10 among the 47 counties in the country. According to the Ministry of Health, 80% of these cases are from the Dadaab refugee camp. It is in this regard that the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD, made donations of personal protective equipment, including masks, sanitizers, and PPEs for healthcare workers, helping the refugees battle the pandemic.
The government also acknowledges the recent donation from IGAD comprising of PPEs for Moyale sub-county in Marsabit County. The government also acknowledges the contribution of Kenya shillings 10 million from your staff for the COVID response. Today, yet again, we are happy to receive your donation of PPEs for the Dadaab refugee camp in Garissa County.
The Republic of Kenya has been a very strong supporter and active member of IGAD, and alongside its sister member states has worked closely with the Secretariat to support the rolling out of the joint regional response to the triple threat of locust infections, widespread floods, and the COVID COVID-19 pandemic.
Elsewhere, Mombasa County Government, in conjunction with the World Health Organization, have embarked on community engagement programs that will focus on civic education of the pandemic. Speaking during a launch of some 6 mobile units, the Mombasa County Public Health Chief Officer Aisha Abubakar said the units will be deployed in 3 sub-counties, including Likoni, Mvita and Nyali, and will aid in responding to any emergencies.
The other 3 sub-counties have already been selected by MEWA, so it is a joint responsibility between the CBOs and the county government of Mombasa. And the reason why we are flagging off the vehicles is to go out and pass the message regarding the COVID-19 pandemic. We want our communities to be aware of what is happening. It's like people now have forgotten that the disease is there because the numbers have reduced.
Currently, Mombasa County, which has 2,227 cases of coronavirus, has seen a decline in COVID-19 cases, dropping from position 2 after being overtaken by Kiambu County with 2,248 cases. Elsewhere, clinical interns in Kisii County have threatened to go on strike, citing failure by county government to provide them with protective gears and risk allowances like other healthcare workers.
From next month, we have started by now, we will release our efforts as possible. Whether good or bad, we will release them because it is a demand. We are too much exposed than we are working, and no one sees how we are dedicated citizens for this nation. So we will either withdraw or retain upon agreement.
The interns claiming the move is exposing them to the virus, and they too, as other professionals, require protection. Purity Museo, Channel 1 News.
And in other matters, police on Tuesday stopped a meeting convened by the Kenya Human Rights Commission for survivors of Solai Dam tragedy that claimed over 40 lives 2 years ago. KHRC Executive Director George Kegoro said the meeting was to strategize on how to prepare evaluation report, which the Commission intends to use as evidence in a case it has filed in court against the owners of the dam. The police said the meeting was contravening the COVID-19 social distancing guidelines by the Ministry of Health.
There was drama in Nakuru County on Tuesday after police stopped a meeting convened by Kenya Human Rights Commission for survivors of Solai Dam tragedy that claimed over 40 lives 2 years ago. A contingent of anti-riot arrived at the venue and ordered the villagers to disperse on grounds that conveners had not notified relevant authorities. Last month, the High Court in Naivasha put on hold a decision of Magistrate Court to acquit 9 suspects charged with causing the death of 49 people during the Solai Dam tragedy.
This is a meeting between a lawyer and a client. A meeting between a lawyer and a client is not one of the types of meetings which under the Public Order Act is required to be licensed or to be given permission by police before it can go on.
Elsewhere, Kehanja Hospital in Migori County is in the spotlight over the theft of new beds. Top health officials in the county have shifted blames to the procurement department over the bed saga. This even as the hospital management committee chairman Rio Bachari accused officials of issuing orders to have beds from the facility transferred to unknown destination.
Tafuta kujua kwamba nani ameauthorize ama amepeana idhini. Tukawa tunaambiwa kwamba ni amri kutoka juu. Tukauliza juu ni wapi? Ni kwa county. Kwa hivyo nashukuru kwamba leo wakubwa county wako hapa kuclarify kwamba pengine ni wao masio wao, lakini hapa polisi kuna hivyo vitu ambavyo tunavyo. Hata
Meanwhile, elected leaders from Kitui County have agreed to bury the hatchet and come up with the necessary technicalities to allow sand harvesting to the sealed Kiambere Dam at Kiamboko area, following a standoff which has seen sand harvesting in the area halted for months. Speaking during a public participation meeting at Kiomboko in Tia Village, Mwingi West Member of Parliament Charles Nguna urged the county government to prepare a memorandum of understanding outlining the procedures under which sand harvesting will be done.
Other conditionalities are community percentage of the revenue that is going to be generated from here. But most importantly, we have agreed that the county government must gravel the road from from Mbondoni all the way to this area and open up the road from Kromboko here to Kamugongo.
Finally, a section of elders drawn from Embu, Meru and Tharaka Nithi counties have supported opposition leader Raila Odinga's calls for a referendum before the next general election, saying constitutional amendments are necessary. Timothy Kipnusu for Channel 1 News.
Let's take a look at some global news now. The World Health Organization is warning that the COVID-19 pandemic is being exacerbated by countries putting their own interest ahead of others in trying to secure supplies of a possible vaccine. WHO Secretary General Tedros Adhanom is calling on member states to join multilateral vaccine efforts instead of adopting a selfish attitude.
As the search for coronavirus vaccine continues, World Health Organization Secretary General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus says there is a need to prevent COVID-19 vaccine nationalism. Ghebreyesus said in a virtual briefing that acting strategically and globally should be in each country's national interest, warning no one is safe until everyone is safe from the pandemic. At the same time, the WHO is warning against complacency among lower-risk groups, saying people in their 20s and 40s are unaware they're infected and are driving the spread of coronavirus. This comes as more than 774,000 people have succumbed to COVID-19 and nearly 22 million cases reported globally. South Africa, which is the worst hit in Africa, eased its COVID-19 restrictions to level 2 on Tuesday, even as the country remains the hardest hit on the continent with more than 580,000 cases. The opposition Economic Freedom Fighters Party has, however, opposed easing of restrictions, warning it could lead to further loss of life. Elsewhere, former U.S. First Lady Michelle Obama has launched a stinging attack on President Donald Trump as Democrats prepare to crown Joe Biden as their White House challenger. In a recorded address, Michelle said Trump is the wrong president for the United States, questioning his handling of the global health crisis. The attacks come ahead of the U.S. election that is slated for November 3rd. And thousands of people have taken to the streets in cities across Argentina to show their opposition to President Alberto Fernandez and his plans to extend coronavirus restrictions in the region around Buenos Aires. Demonstrators gathered in the center of the city while waving flags while chanting anti-government slogans. Meanwhile, the opposition party in Mali has planned a series of protests this week, including a women's march. The protests took a break during the Eid festivities and resumed last week on Tuesday, but were dispersed with tear gas. Regional efforts to bring an end to the crisis have failed, with the opposition refusing to compromise on their demand for the resignation of President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta.
You are watching Channel 1 News Hour. We are taking our second break. When we come back, I'll be here with the business news.
KBC, in collaboration with the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, is broadcasting enhanced out-of-class learning on radio, television and online. Catch the lessons every weekday on KBC Channel 1 from 2 to 4 p.m. on KBC English Service and 15 FM from 9:15 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Radio Taifa from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. KBC English Service, Radio Taifa and 15 FM are also available countrywide on the free-to-air Signet digital TV platform, or log on to www.kbc.co.ke for live streaming, or download the KBC online app on Google Play Store. Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, ensuring learning no matter what.
Time for business. Equity Bank saw its net profit during the first 6 months of this year reduced by 24% to 9.1 billion shillings that the lender attributes to increased loan loss provision as a result of COVID-19 disruptions. Equity Group CEO James Mwangi projects that 45% of customer loans need to be restructured to accommodate flexible repayments. Meanwhile, Family Bank has reported a 42.93% increase in first half net profit to 638.47 million shillings, driven by income from government securities.
Since the government announced measures aimed at curbing the spread of the coronavirus in the country after the first case was reported, many financial institutions have been forced to restructure their customer loans to help them cope with the harsh economic conditions. As at June this year, Equity Bank had restructured loans worth 92 billion shillings. The lender projects to increase this to 125 shillings or 45% of the loan book. Projection of customers facing challenges servicing loans as a result of COVID-19 disruptions on businesses and income has seen Equity Group increase the loan loss provision by 15 times to 7.7 billion shillings from 500 million shillings during a similar period last year. This rate into the lender's profitability during the first 6 months of this year. This ate into the lender's profitability during the first 6 months of this year, which dipped 24% to 9.1 billion shillings. Meanwhile, Family Bank weathered the harsh economic environment occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic to register a 42.93% increase in net profit to 638.47 million shillings during the first 6 months of this year, defying an industry trend of reduced profitability. The lender attributes the profit growth to an increase in net interest income hugely from loans and advances and income from government securities. This is despite Family Bank restructuring loans worth 15 billion shillings and provisioned 464 million shillings for bad debt due to adverse effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. The bank has also waived all charges for balance inquiries and money transfers between account and mobile money wallets. Family Bank CEO Rebecca Mbidi says the bank will intensify the automation of services to mitigate against challenges brought about by COVID-19.
Let's talk about TV now. Picture quality and screen size are two key factors that Kenyans bear in mind when buying television sets. Research on customer preferences about premium television sets show that 75% of respondents prefer television sets that are at least 55 inches. LG Electronics Eastern Africa content manager William Kamore says the desire to have electronics with the latest technology has been driving the uptake of premium television sets in Kenya.
A growing middle class in Kenya, coupled with preference for top quality electronics, has been driving uptake of premium television sets in the country. This has seen electronic companies launch in Kenya tech-savvy products in efforts to tap this market. LG Electronics is the latest with its NanoCell brand that mainly targets the premium TV market segment. The firm is banking on its thin-Q technology, high resolution, and a wide range of screen size options to drive uptake of NanoCell television sets.
Nanotech or nanotechnology, which is pioneered by artificial intelligence, which means the TV learns from you and to understand how best to show your picture, your sound, and also your smart connections.
Research shows that those buying conventional TVs intend to use them for between 2 to 5 years, while those buying premium television sets intend to watch them for about 10 years.
It means our consumers are getting future-proof TVs, meaning whichever content you will get, the TV can be able to display in near 4K and 8K quality.
Free installations, extended warranty, and free delivery are the key after-sales service that premium television buyers, such as the NanoCell customers, consider when making purchases.
And in other matters, hospitality and tourism operators are banking on the return of flamingos at Lake Nakuru after a 4-year absence to attract tourists back into the area. Lake Nakuru National Park Deputy Park Warden Caroline Mwebia says the Kenya Wildlife Service has earmarked 40 million shillings for repairing roads in the park to smoothen movement of tourists.
After a 4-year absence, thousands of flamingos have flocked back to Lake Nakuru after nesting and breeding season in Tanzania's Lake Natron. The migration coincided with the tourism peak season in Kenya, treating the area to an almost forgotten phenomenon.
Come from Paris, France, and I am here especially to see the flamingos because I've been told they are back, so it's something incredible I want to see with my whole family.
Lake Nakuru, which was named the most colorful lake in the world in 2015, when an assortment of wildlife dotted the water body, has seen its stature take a hit after the birds migrated due to the rising water levels in the lake.
And since most of the Rift Valley lakes are flooded, we've seen like Lake Bogoria is really flooded. So they're looking for places where they can find food. And most likely Lake Nakuru, some of the areas are a bit shallow. And that's why we are seeing a good number along the lake shores.
However, this year, despite high water levels, flamingos have flocked the shallow parts of the lake.
Most of the animals, they want their own time. They want privacy so that they can breed, they can feed. So any moment there's disturbance, maybe vehicles approach very close to the lake, sometimes you'll find them flying away.
The Kenya Wildlife Service has earmarked 40 million shillings to repair the road network at the Lake Nakuru National Park to ease movement. Benson Rioba reporting for Channel 1 Business.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1 on the next episode of Ashoka.
Dharma's son asked me to meet him here. This is the only way to go upstairs from here.
There is one more way to go upstairs.
Oh Lord, I did not know about this secret passage.
Only the royal family and few trusted people know about this secret passage.
The next episode of Corner.
We get our hands on that useless man.
Please, don't interfere. I can handle things with Wanjala.
Kama ungeweza tungekuwa hapa. I am out, Julia. As long as Abbas is part of the FNW, I won't be.
Tafuta budako Wanjala. And don't stop until you do. Wendi pale, when hiyo chai itajipika. Mimi nataka mayai 4.
Your father, no matter what he did with this gene, he did it for the good of this gene. Not one of your pets.
I'm paying you well.
On the next episode of
Mimi sikuja hapa kufundishwa mapishi bora.
Bingwa potea huyu. I'm lost. Lakini sasa mtu mzima tena alivokosa kabisa ni kunifanya mimi kama kijakazi wake. Yaani mimi siku nyingine napika chakula, yoje sema nini? Hatio, mara chakula hii sikitaki, nipike kingine.
Sema tata huyu bwana. Haambiliki.
Lakini ametuelewa.
Tujali kazi zenu
Time for sports. The government has been petitioned to fulfill its promise of helping retired athletes sustain themselves in their sunset years following the disruptions caused by the coronavirus pandemic. Pleas of retired athletes to the government for help are not uncommon after years of dedication on the field, track or indoors. This, of course, has resulted in proposals to the government to come up with a scheme of helping or cushioning middle-aged and elderly former sportsmen and women to endure the vagaries occasioned by the economic downturn. Former Kenya Taekwondo Ladies Association Chairperson Wambui Ngunya is echoing those supporting the change, revealing that Mount Kenya Climbing Challenge that seeks to raise funds for the elderly has been organized for the 1st to 7th of October. Part of the money raised from the challenge will also go into supporting a chosen elderly home in Nanyuki. And in other matters, the opening match of the 2020-2021 French top flight season has been postponed after 4 positive coronavirus cases at Marseille. Marseille were due to host Saint-Etienne on Friday in the first of 8 weekend fixtures in Ligue 1.
The 2019-2020 campaign was curtailed in April because of the COVID-19 pandemic, with the PSG 12 points clear the top, awarded the title. Marseille vs Saint-Etienne will now be played on either 16th or 17th September. Elsewhere, Romelu Lukaku and Lautaro Martinez both scored twice as Inter Milan hammered Shakhtar Donetsk 5-0 in Dusseldorf, Germany to set up Europa League final showdown with Sevilla. Martinez struck his first in the 19th minute. Danilo D'Ambrosio rose highest in the area to head home a second before Martinez side-footed in his second to seal the win, and Lukaku came to the party with 2 neat finishes of his own. Former Manchester United striker Lukaku has now scored in 10 straight Europa League games and has 33 goals for the season. Having missed out on the Serie A title by a single point, Inter have now the chance to claim a first trophy since 2011 when they faced Sevilla on Friday.
And that's where we put a cap on this edition of Channel 1 News Hour. We do thank you very much for joining us. You can stay up to date with breaking news on Twitter at KBC Channel 1 on behalf of the team here. That includes all the directors, producers, and our sign language interpreter, Simon Karotha. My name is Edward Kabasa. Up next is the weather forecast with Irene Muchuma Odim.
Very well, Kabasa. Let's do the weather. And tonight, Machakos County is the coldest. Temperatures stand at 10 degrees Celsius. Lodwar and Mandera are the warmest. Temperatures stand at 25 degrees Celsius. This, as most parts of the country have been covered with partly cloudy conditions, save for Nairobi area, Central Highlands, the Lake Basin region, and northwestern parts of the country, where there are scattered wet conditions. My name is Irene Mchuma Odim. Thank you for your time. Let's have a look at how the weather will be tomorrow, and we'll wake up to a cool and cloudy day here in the capital. This will be accompanied with light rains. Similar weather conditions will take place in Meru and Nyeri. There will be showers in Mombasa and Malindi during the early morning hours, but then there will be over a few places. Lamu County will be sunny. Similarly to counties over the northeastern parts of the country, there will be rains over a few places around Lake Turkana. It will also rain in Kitale, Eldoret, Kisii, and Kericho during the morning hours. These are sunny conditions dominate the western parts of the country and Lake Basin region. Machakos, Makindu, Voi will be a bit cloudy during the morning hours before giving way to sunny intervals, but then we'll see changes in the afternoon over the western parts of the country. These are showers accompanied by thunderstorms in Kisii, Kericho, Kitale, Bungoma, and also a few areas over the northwestern parts of the country. Mandera, Garissa, Marsabit, and their environs will continue to experience sunny conditions, similarly at the coastal strip as well as the southeastern lowlands. Temperatures have slightly gone down in Mandera. The county will experience highs of 34 degrees Celsius. Similarly, in Lodwar, the capital will experience highs of 23 and lows of 14 degrees Celsius. It is that time that we cross the borders and have a look at the international forecast. Do have a good night and a blessed day.